Nature has spent centuries sculpting an architecture of power. It is not merely biology, it is engineering. Frames of calcified struts reinforce walls of dense muscle designed for total domination. This is the realm of the bovids, living tanks. They are built to withstand the most hostile environments on the planet. As you join this expedition into the limits of physical form, observe the blueprint. Evolution turned simple grazers into siege engines. But among these titans of flesh and bone, which construction is the most perfect? To find the answer, we must first confront the heaviest biological machine in the tropics. Biological architecture finds its absolute physical limit at the 1,000 kilogram mark. In the flooded plains of India and Nepal, the Asian water buffalo proves that mass is the primary form of armor. This is not merely a grazing animal, it is a siege engine built for the swamp. The defense mechanism starts with geometry. Two massive crescents of keratin extend from the skull. The span measures over 2 meters from tip to tip. That is wider than a standard passenger car. These are the largest horns of any living bovine, designed not for display but for lethal triangulation. When a Bengal tiger stalks the reeds, it faces a wall of solid bone that no predator can breach head-on. The physics of this giant are palpable. As the beast rises from the marsh, water cascades off a hide thick enough to blunt claws. The suction of deep mud pulls at hooves the size of dinner plates, but raw torque overcomes the drag. It requires immense energy to move this 1-ton chassis. While this colossal size guarantees safety from predators, it demands endless space. Today, their wild populations are fractured into tiny, isolated pockets. Leave the open wetlands behind. We plunge into the suffocating green labyrinth of Central Africa. In this vertical wall of vines and timber, sheer mass is a death sentence. The African forest buffalo sheds the weight. It drops to between 250 and 450 kilograms, less than half the bulk of its savanna cousin, a compact siege engine. The coat is no longer black. It is a coarse, burnt auburn. It mimics the texture of the floor: wet clay, decaying leaves, rusty earth. The animal dissolves into the background. To move here, you must be hydrodynamic. Wide horns would act as anchors in the tangle, so the horns sweep backward, flat against the neck. Zero drag. It slides through the dense undergrowth like a torpedo. But this adaptation serves a darker purpose. It allows the beast to vanish instantly. It circles back on its own tracks, waiting, breathing, hidden in the gloom. We leave the African labyrinth behind and cross the Indian Ocean. 6,000 miles east, the dense canopy of Indonesia hides a different kind of giant. This is the banteng. A fully grown male stands 1.65 meters at the shoulder. He is a tank of muscle weighing over 800 kilograms. Distinctive white stockings mark his legs, flashing against the dark forest floor. While females remain a camouflaged red, the dominant bulls turn a deep midnight blue. But looking at this wild titan, you are looking back in time. This is the genetic blueprint. Thousands of years ago, humans began the slow process of domestication here. The banteng is the direct wild ancestor of the famous Bali cattle found on farms today. The docile livestock that supports millions of people was carved from this raw, volatile energy. Civilization in Southeast Asia was built on the back of this beast. Now, the original source code is vanishing. Deforestation cuts through their range, and genetic mixing dilutes the bloodline. The wild population has crashed to fewer than 8,000. Across the sea, evolution takes a sharp turn. The mainland breeds giants, but the island creates prisoners. Deep in the Philippine jungles of Mindoro, resources are scarce and space is finite. To survive here, nature strips away the bulk. The result is the tamaraw. This is the phenomenon of island dwarfism. Standing just 1 meter tall at the shoulder, this animal is a biological paradox. It is a condensed package of muscle weighing 300 kilograms. That is the weight of a grand piano compressed into the frame of a pony. The reduction in size does not reduce the aggression, it concentrates it. The horns are thick, V-shaped, and swept back against the skull. This is not display weaponry, it is engineering for the thicket. Long, wide horns would snag on vines, but this design allows for movement through the dense green wall. While conservation laws try to protect the species from extinction, the animal relies on a more primal defense. In the claustrophobic tunnel of the undergrowth, there is no room to maneuver. The tamaraw lowers its head and charges. We ascend from the steam of the tropics to the frozen vacuum of the Himalayas, 6,000 meters above sea level. The air is thin enough to make a human faint. Here stands the Wild Yak, a 1-ton engine built for the death zone. Respiration is the primary challenge. At this altitude, oxygen is a luxury resource. The yak's chest cavity is immense. Its lungs are 3 times larger than those of a domestic cow. They expand like industrial bellows, pulling the thin air deep into the body. The chemistry takes over. The blood is saturated with fetal hemoglobin, a modification that persists into adulthood. It grips oxygen molecules with chemical violence, efficient, relentless. Then comes the cold. The wind screams over the plateau, freezing sweat in seconds. The yak does not shiver. Its coat is a layered defense system. Long, coarse guard hairs hang to the ground like a heavy curtain, breaking the wind. Beneath lies the underwool, trapping body heat in a perfect thermal loop. It is a creature of the Ice Age, perfectly preserved by the cold. The storm closes in. The world turns white. Absolute silence. The yak adapted to the oxygen-starved heights. The muskox is a living relic that simply stopped time in the glacial epoch. Standing in the Canadian tundra, this 400-kilogram titan looks like a prehistoric bovine, though it is genetically a giant armor-plated cousin of the goat. But in the Arctic, mass is not enough, you need engineering. The animal is wrapped in kiviot. This is not just fur, it is the most efficient natural insulator on Earth. The inner fleece consists of fibers finer than cashmere but 8 times warmer than sheep's wool. Outside, the wind chill drops to minus 50 degrees Celsius. Inside the coat, near the skin, the heat remains tropical. This biomaterial creates a walking fortress. When wolves emerge from the whiteout, the herd does not panic. They execute a geometric defense. The adults back together. A solid ring of curved horns faces the enemy. Vulnerable calves remain locked in the center. The living wall snaps shut. The muskox held its fortress against the ice, but its southern cousin, the aurochs, lost the battle against civilization in the 17th century. Yaktoro Forest, Poland, 1627. The last female dies, and a titan standing 180 centimeters at the shoulder vanishes from the map. This was not just a cow, it was the heavy tank of the ancient world, taller than a modern man. But extinction is now being treated as a reversible error. The genetic code was not deleted, only fragmented across its domesticated descendants. Today, the Toros program is attempting to reassemble the puzzle. Scientists are using backbreeding to strip away thousands of years of farming traits. They are reverse engineering the ancestor directly from the DNA of primitive cattle. The goal is to engineer a beast that looks like the aurochs and grazes like the aurochs. The herds are returning to the European wild, but the experiment remains unfinished. The aurochs vanished forever, but the European bison performed the impossible, returning from the void 300 years after its cousin fell. In 1927, the timeline seemed to end. The last wild specimen was gunned down in Poland, leaving the ancient Białowieża forest silent. Zero remained in nature. The entire future of the species rested on a few scattered captives. From this remnant, only 12 individuals became the founders of the modern herd. 12. A genetic bottleneck so tight it should have been fatal, but biology found a way. This is the heaviest land mammal in Europe, a 920-kilogram engine of muscle. Unlike its American relative, the wisent is not built for the plains. It features longer legs and a flexible neck designed to navigate deep timber and clear dense undergrowth. From those 12 ancestors, the global population has rebounded to over 7,000 individuals today. While Europe scrambled to save its bison from the brink, the jungles of India sheltered a giant that requires no human protection. This is the gaur, the absolute zenith of the bovine world. Standing 220 centimeters at the shoulder, a mature bull physically towers over a tall man, but the height is merely a frame for the mass. A colossal muscular ridge rises along the spine, acting as a biological lever for a head that can crush bone. Deep in the humid canopy, even the Bengal tiger understands the hierarchy. The predator freezes. It sees the wall of dark muscle. It chooses another path. Engaging a healthy male is not hunting, it is suicide. This is not a prey animal. It is a living tank that dominates the forest floor with a fighting weight of 1,500 kilograms. While the gaur dominates the jungle with static mass, the American bison evolved into a high-speed battering ram for the open plains. At first glance, glance, the animal appears top-heavy and lethargic, a clumsy mountain of fur. But this bulk is a trap for the unaware. How does a creature weighing 1,000 kilograms outrun a racehorse on rough terrain? The secret lies in the hump. It is not a fat reserve, it is a massive muscular anchor supported by extended thoracic vertebrae. This biological lever powers the neck and head, allowing the bison to plow through deep snow in winter or swing its horns like a sledgehammer. When the herd moves, the physics of the plain changes. The ground trembles. You feel the vibration in your chest before you hear the hooves. Despite the heavy appearance, they accelerate to 55 kilometers per hour, faster than a wolf, faster than a grizzly bear. A standard fence blocks the path. The bull launches. 1 ton of muscle clears 180 centimeters of vertical height without breaking stride. An acrobat inside a tank. On the open plains, the American bison dominates through sheer momentum. But 4,000 feet down in the abyss, evolution discarded mass for a nightmare of pure mechanics. This is Mitsukurina austoni, the Goblin Shark, a living fossil drifting in the crushing darkness. Its skin lacks pigment, appearing completely transparent. That phantom pink hue is simply oxygenated blood pumping through vessels just beneath the surface. But the terror lies in the engineering of the mouth. The jaw is not fused to the skull. It hangs suspended by high-tension elastic ligaments loaded like a biological catapult. A target drifts within range. Tension releases. The entire jaw structure detaches from the cranium and shoots forward to snatch the prey. 3 meters per second. The strike executes faster than a human blink. In the midnight zone, energy is expensive and food is scarce, so missing is not an option. The ligaments recoil, dragging the victim into the throat, and the trap snaps shut. From the abyssal gloom, we rise to the underside of the Arctic ice cap. In this frozen darkness, vision is useless and raw biting power is not enough. To survive the labyrinth, you do not need a weapon, you need a high-precision scanner. This biological engineering presents a question. Why would a mammal evolve a tooth that pierces its own upper lip to face the freezing ocean? The narwhal is famous for its 3-meter spiral lance, but this is no horn. It is an overgrown left canine. For centuries, humans believed it was a spear for dueling, but using it for combat would be agony. The structure is not solid armor. It is a biological antenna. The surface of the tusk is porous, allowing seawater to enter and interact with 10 million nerve endings inside. It is an exposed nerve the size of a javelin. This sensitivity transforms the animal into a swimming weather station. The tusk tastes the salt concentration in the water. It detects temperature shifts and currents cold enough to kill a human in minutes. While other whales rely on sonar, the narwhal feels the chemistry of the ocean to find cracks in the ice. It is the only known case where a tooth serves as a neurological sensor. From the frozen silence of the Arctic, we shift to the volcanic sands of the Galapagos Islands. Here, the ocean floor demands a different kind of movement. Oncocephalus darwini, the red-lipped batfish, represents a radical biological pivot. Evolution effectively discarded the ability to swim. The hydrodynamic grace of a fish is gone. In its place, pectoral fins have stiffened and rotated, transforming into makeshift jointed legs. This creature does not glide through the water column. It drags itself across the sediment. The face appears to be a cosmetic accident, bright crimson lips looking freshly painted with lipstick glowing against the gray silt. This high contrast color likely serves as a recognition beacon for mates in the gloom. It is a clownish appearance masking a serious adaptation. The batfish has traded speed for stability. It lifts a modified fin, pushes off the grit, and falls forward. One awkward step. From the crushing pressure of the deep, we rise to the crushing heat of the Australian interior. There, water was the medium of existence. Here, it is the ultimate deficit. Enter Moloch horridus, the thorny devil. It stands motionless on sand that radiates heat at 140 degrees Fahrenheit. To the untrained eye, the lizard simply stands in a patch of damp sand, seemingly absorbing moisture through its feet. This is an illusion. It is not drinking with its claws. It is operating a passive hydraulic system. Zoom into the surface of the armor. The skin is not just a shield, it is a complex topographic map. Between the jagged scales lie a network of hygroscopic grooves, microchannels only a fraction of the width of a human hair. A single drop of morning dew touches a hind leg. Physics takes over. Through capillary action, the water is seized by the grooves. It defies gravity. The liquid travels up the leg, across the flank, and over the spiny back, drawn inexorably toward the head. No muscle contraction, no energy spent. The water reaches the corner of the mouth. The lizard simply swallows. The system's efficiency is absolute. 0% water loss during transport. In a landscape designed to desiccate everything that breathes, this biological machine turns the skin itself into a pipeline for survival. Passive survival shifts to passive aggression. From the arid sands, we move to the dense reed beds of Africa and Eurasia, where waiting is not about hydration but execution. Meet Ardea purpurea. Standing 90 centimeters tall, the purple heron is not merely a bird, it is a biological sniper rifle wrapped in feathers. Its chestnut and gray plumage renders it invisible against the backdrop of dying vegetation. The bird stretches its neck and points its beak vertically toward the sky, swaying gently with the wind. To a passing fish, it is just another dry reed, total stillness. But the anatomy tells a different story. The heron's neck features a sharp, angular kink that looks like a severe fracture. This is not an injury, it is a loading mechanism. The cervical vertebrae are fused in a modified joint structure that forces the neck into a tight S shape. This configuration functions exactly like a compressed steel spring. While the body remains frozen, the neck muscles store immense potential energy. The target drifts below. The bird does not lunge with its legs, it releases the spring. The S shape straightens faster than the human eye can track, driving the dagger-like beak through the water and into the prey. The heron pretends to be a reed to kill, but this creature became the reed to survive. In the isolated currents of southern Australia, the Phycodurus eques challenges the very definition of a living animal. It is the leafy sea dragon. The body is a deception. Lobes of skin extend from the spine and head, mimicking the torn golden edges of drifting kelp. It hovers in near total weightlessness. To move, it relies on pectoral and dorsal fins that are almost perfectly transparent. They vibrate at 30 beats per second, too fast for the human eye to track. The dragon does not swim, it glides. Placed beside real algae, the animal vanishes. It sways with the ocean swell, matching the rhythm of the plants exactly. A predator looks right at it and sees only vegetation. But this camouflage cannot hide it from us. The species is so specialized, so fragile, that it is strictly guarded by Australian law to prevent poaching. Its defense is beauty, and that beauty makes it a target. It turns slowly, drifting into the murk until the outline dissolves completely. Gone. From the thundering giants to the silent invisibles, we have traced the extremes of survival. Evolution does not favor a single path. It engineers the Indian gaur, a fortress of 1,500 kilograms of pure muscle. Yet the same timeline perfects the microscopic channels on a desert lizard's skin. Brute force against absolute precision. To visualize these hidden mechanics, we deployed advanced artificial intelligence simulations. But digital recreations are merely echoes. The true genetic legacy hangs by a thread in our wetlands and arid zones. Protecting these codes is not just stewardship, it is the preservation of life's most successful experiments. Which adaptation stands out? The overwhelming power of the beast or the vanished profile of the dragon? Let us know in the comments. The planet remains a vault of biological secrets, and we have barely cracked the first seal.